Hello, everybody. Welcome, welcome. Hi. Patricia, you cut your hair.
I did. I cut almost all of them.
It looks so glamorous.
Thank you. Thank you. It's one word for it.
And Paul, if you could start recording, or do you want me to record?
We are recording.
We are recording. Excellent. We have liftoff. So we're going to give a few minutes for everybody to join us. Welcome, everybody. Please open up your chats because we're going to put some links and have some conversation in chat.
Will the chat be recorded so we can see it afterwards?
I believe it is recorded.
Yeah,
it's saved as a text file, so we could certainly figure out something to do with that, but I don't think it'll be on video recording.
Yeah, getting a copy of the file would be helpful rather than trying to constantly take screenshots or whatever.
It's a good idea.
Yep, good idea. So I see a lot more people are joining. Welcome, welcome. We'd love to see you on video. We are building a community here. So we don't care about your background. We don't care what's on your bookshelf. We don't care how the laundry looks. So we just want to get to know you. So welcome, everybody. Welcome. I see some familiar names and faces. Very excited to have you all back. I see some new folks. Hi, Caroline. How you doing?
Great. Good to see you.
Likewise. Hi, Deborah. All right. We'll give this another minute or so. And again, please open up your chat. We're going to put some links in there. I feel like we should have some music.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing.
I don't know, Jerry, you've got some guitars back there. Maybe you can strum a few things.
How about some Motown?
Motown? Okay. All right, stay hydrated, everybody.
Anything but rap.
Okay. Okay, so Larry has a great Zoom trick here. Click on the three dots in chat and you can save the chat file at the end. Thank you, Larry. It's always good to have a Zoom hack. Okay. Wonderful.
This thing working?
How do you click on the three dots in chat?
So we're at the bottom of the chat.
Right.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, at the bottom right, right at the bottom, there's a emoji icon, and then there are three dots to the right of it.
Yeah, I don't see that. I'm on my iPhone.
It might not be so easy there.
We're
going to save it anyway. It will be saved, and we can figure out what to do with it.
Yeah, I think we all each need a 10-year-old technical advisor.
Or a technical advisor of 80 who knows what they're talking about.
Oh, nice, Doug.
There will be no internal ageism in this group. We won't allow that to happen. We're here to shed that.
Amen.
Amen. All right. Well, then let's use that as our jumping off point. So we'll have folks continue to join us as we get started. So welcome, everybody. Welcome, welcome. We're so delighted to have you all here. So the Founders Over 55 started just over 2 years ago with 12 people around a conference table at the Venture Cafe in Cambridge, Mass. We will get back in person. I know we will. But in the last 24 months, we've grown to over 400 members around the country and some tuning in from around the world. So we're very excited to see the growth and momentum of this group. Clearly, it's a signal that folks are looking to build a meaningful career at this stage in their lives. And many of us are turning towards entrepreneurship or solopreneurship to make that happen and realize our dreams. So I'm your host, Danielle Drury-Duplin, co-founder of Agency. We are an innovation network for people who are building companies and products and services for living longer and aging better. And we noticed that a lot of folks who were starting companies, they themselves had a lived experience about the aging journey and wanted to jump back into the working world and fix that gap. So we're here as part of a special week, the National Employ Older Workers Week. To really raise awareness that age is an asset, and we want to work hard, we want to work at fulfilling jobs and careers. And so we gather together as a community to help each other out. And the Founders Over 55 Collective, we focus on three key areas: fellowship, education, and connections. So first, for fellowship, the journey of an entrepreneur takes many twists and turns. There's a lot of obstacles. There's a lot of bumps in the road. It's a lot of lonely times. It's a lot of scary times. It's a lot of times you want to celebrate. So we're really here to support one another wherever you are in your journey and cheer each other on. So just by way of welcome, we're going to put up our first poll, super quick. We'd love to know who is joining us for the first time and who's been here for several of our events. So Paul, if you could post that first poll, we'll get to know who's in the room.
Yes. The first one is actually
the welcome.
Yes.
All right. So super quick. Is this your first Founders Over 55 meetup, or no, you've attended others before? So super quick. Let us know. So this is our 12th meetup. For those of you who are just joining us for the first time or have joined us just in the last, recently, we do record all of our events, and we do have them up on our website, the foundersover55.com, foundersover55.com. So you can see Zoom recordings, audio recordings of our previous events, and you can see the curriculum that we've covered so far. And we'd also, of course, love your thoughts about what curriculum we should be focusing on going forward. So Paul, survey results?
The survey results are 60%. Let me just end the poll. So 60% are my first time, and 40% they have attended before.
Wow. Wow. Oh my gosh. Okay. So hello to everybody who's just joining us. So why don't you give a wave? So for those of us who've been here before, just reach out and chat with somebody who's waving and welcome them. And we're delighted to have you here, and we hope you join us going forward. So thank you very much. So the second pillar of the Founders Over 55 is education. Each month we produce events and we are building curriculum that includes thought leadership, folks who have written books about the topic of building businesses, folks that are thinking about the journey of an entrepreneur over 50. We focus on actual skill building, specific things like how to go for fundraising or marketing or other parts of, the techniques of building a company. And we're always here to draw new insights for each phase of the entrepreneurship journey. At our last event, we debuted a journey chart. So Paul will put that in the chat right now. So you always have access to the chart. And this chart describes the different stages of the entrepreneurship journey and really kind of what you should be focusing on in each of the categories of business building. It looks overwhelming all at once, but really is like a handy reference tool. And we're going to reference it today. And it's also our guidepost, if you will, for building curriculum. So we'll bounce around the chart to make sure that we zoom in on specific areas to give you, again, some more expertise and insights that you can learn from. So, so with that chart sort of off to the side, Paul, if you could put up the next poll, the stages poll, we'd love to know where you are. We have many folks, we have 60% new folks here today. Many of you are reinventing, you're just exploring, you're just thinking about what you want to do next. And some of you are deep into it already. So we'd love to know two things. Where are you in your stage? And what are your goals for the size company that you're building? Many of us are just kind of branching out as contractors or solopreneurs and building a practice around our expertise. That's fabulous. Others are building companies that they're co-founding with someone, maybe somebody multi-generational, or someone that has complementary skills. Others are building small companies as per the SMB designation. Others are like going for it. You want to build like a big, large enterprise, the next unicorn, you want to crush it, go for it. So let us know where you are in your journey and what your goals are. And make sure you scroll there in that poll. You'll get to the other.
We have 75% participation.
All right, come on, everybody.
79.
Let's do it. Let's do
81. We can do it, guys.
Showing up is half the story.
Oh, it's slowing down at 81. Oh, 83. This is exciting. 85. 87.
And there's no wrong answer. Just let us know where you are. Okay.
We seem to be stuck at 87. So I'm going to end the poll.
Okay.
And share the results. When I share the results, I assume they're showing up there?
Yep, I can see them. Can everybody see them?
Yes.
Thumbs up? Yep, perfect, good. Okay, all right, good. So we have a lot of folks that are in that early phase. So this is, you're in the right room because we are gonna talk about one of the key strengths about starting a company. So, so you're in the right room. Excellent, okay. Close. Perfect. Well, thank you for that. So then our third pillar are strategic connections. We're here for one another. And we hope that through this club, you get a chance to meet a potential co-founder, other collaborators, key stakeholders, key people that could be on your board or could be advisors or might be a key resource for your team. Maybe you join together. Maybe in potential customers. So with that, I'd love to just take a brief minute and introduce the other members of the steering committee. You've met Paul, who is our tech lead. So Paul, say hi.
Hello, everybody. Paul Michaels. My startup is called Get Fit Made Easy, and hopefully you'll learn a little bit about it later on when I do my little strength story. Thank you.
And Doug Dixon from Encore Boston.
Hi, everybody. My name is Doug Dixon. I'm board chair of Encore Boston Network. I woke up with a funny voice this morning, so I hope you can all hear me. Encore Boston Network is engaged in helping people find their next act through work, through service, and through social action. So to learn more about us, check us out at encorebostonnetwork.org.
And Jerry Wolosenko.
Hi, folks. I'm Jerry Wolosenko. I have a couple of decades of experience in entrepreneurial activities in the video game space. So I've been there and suffered and not suffered.
And succeeded.
Right.
Right. So Ramesh Advani.
Hi, everybody. Thank you, Danielle, for making this happen, and especially to Polly. My name is Ramesh Advani, and I'm a counselor in the SCORE chapter in Boston. We have SCORE chapters that mentor and help entrepreneurs all over the country, and it's all free of charge, and you have great expertise. The Boston chapter alone has 80 counselors, and of course there are hundreds of counselors, and we counsel people all around the country, and I'd be glad to talk to any of you even later on or introduce you to other counselors.
And in fact, we've done a couple of events on mentorship that featured SCORE as well. So for those of you who are joining us new, again, go back to our videos on demand and you can watch that to get a little deeper understanding about the whole mentorship process. And Mary, is Mary here? Mary Cronin?
I actually, I don't see her.
Okay. So we'll meet Mary when Mary joins us in a little bit. So each of the steering committee will be leading the breakout sessions as well as some of our speakers today who you'll get to know in just a minute. So you'll get a chance to meet each other even more. All right, so on to the show. So regardless of where you are in your journey, you are the heart and soul of the company that you are building. You bring your own life experiences, your passion, your grit. And so today we're here to talk about you and your unique combination of strengths that you bring to your work each and every day. And Polly Chandler, our strength-based leadership coach who's going to run this program, and Campbell Garish, the co-founder of Third Half Advisors, along with Caroline Brecker, have built a phenomenal consulting practice around strength-based leadership and helping each of you truly maximize your potential as an entrepreneur and as you design your career going forward. So we're so excited to partner with Third Half Advisors. And it's now my great pleasure to turn the program over to Campbell Garish, co-founder of Third Half.
Thanks very much, Danielle. And it's a pleasure for us to be here. I think my partner, Caroline Brecker, is on the line, as mentioned. We are going to spend quite a bit of time to see how our strengths can help us build businesses, and our focus is on an advisory service for post-career professionals. We have a curriculum. Polly is our coach and facilitator, and we've put over 400 people through the program. So we've got 3 or 4 years of experience. It's really starting to expand. Not only do we focus on strengths, but we feel that people's values are their compass in their post-career life, and their interests help them develop what we call a portfolio of activities. So this is the method that we use. What we're trying to do is help create a roadmap to the future for post-career professionals and have an action plan that they can actually follow. So that's what we're all about. And now I'm going to turn it over to our real pro, Polly Chandler.
Hi, welcome everybody. I'm so delighted to meet you and get to know you. But I just want us to pause, look around the room, and just think of all the talent in this room, all the insight, all the wisdom, all the experience, all the lessons learned, all the hiccups, all in one space, having a conversation about entrepreneurship. I know when I spend time with entrepreneurs like this, I actually learn something new every time. I get energized by the ideas and the innovation, but I also get hopeful because you are the change makers, right? So thank you for participating today. And this is our Third Half philosophy. I'm one of the members of the Third Half team and honored to present this philosophy to you. Campbell went over it quickly. I just want to reiterate that our first phase of our programs are always about getting clear on your identity. What are your strengths, right? How are they going to help you move forward? What are your values? How are they going to help you make good decisions as you make decisions about where your business is going? And third, how do you explore and perhaps rebalance your priorities? How do you want to spend your time and talent? We use this portfolio life approach. You may be familiar with a financial portfolio, but a portfolio life makes you think about how do I want to allocate, how much time do I want to go to my business, to recreation, to my family, to lifestyle, to learning, to giving back. And so we help you explore all that. And fourth, we are all about executing. So today, keep a notepad of action steps that you want to take after this event. What are little incremental steps that you can take on your strengths-based journey? So as a strengths coach and facilitator, I want to give you the foundational knowledge. So here's some terms I want you to understand, but let's get this backstory first. Back in the 90s, Donald Clifton and a group of organizational psychologists started thinking about what are all the talents in the world and what would be different if people showed up at their work, at their home, and their communities, playing to their strengths. So they interviewed over 1 million people to find out what are all the talents in the world. And amazingly, cross countries, 21 different countries, they found that talents cluster in bundles, right? They found there were 34 bundles of talents, and those are what they call a theme. So once they identified these 34 themes, then they set out to say, what would happen if we could empower people to use their strengths more intentionally? So they designed an assessment, an online assessment that's called the Clifton StrengthsFinder Assessment. You're welcome to take it. I'm happy to answer questions about it. But the idea behind the StrengthsFinder assessment is that we get familiar again with our strengths. So if you look at the difference, a talent is where we begin, often as a teenager. You might notice one of your youth that you know, maybe it's your own child or a nephew or a niece, is particularly good at organizing or telling stories or researching or analyzing data. That's an emerging talent, right? That there's learning to use. Over time and effort, it can turn into a strength. Now, it takes 10,000 hours to turn a talent into a strength. So what Gallup was curious about was what happens when people start moving towards that strength zone and have the opportunity to really leverage their strengths, right? And what they found was some pretty compelling data. This now is overseen by Gallup, one of the biggest analytical firms in the world. They continue to do research studies on the outcomes of a strengths-based approach. What they find is there's higher levels of engagement, lower turnover, better health, higher productivity, and greater energy when people play to their strengths. So you're going to hear me talk about energy and productivity today, or performance, right? So when we think about those 34, if you were to take that StrengthsFinder, you get a report that said, this is my number 1, where I have my highest energy and my greatest productivity and performance, and my number 34, which might be low performance or low energy, and then all points in between. What we know about entrepreneurs is that they learn how to play to their top strengths, those top 10. They can overcome all kinds of obstacles. So that's where we're going to begin today. Now, we don't have time to go through 34, so we're going to use a construct that Gallup has invented called the domains. So let's look at these 4 domains. Those 34 themes break down into these 4 domains. Off to the left or right, you'll see a bunch of words like achiever, arranger, belief, consistency. Those are the names of those themes, right? The good thing about them is you get a sense of what they might be. The bad thing about it is we draw a lot of assumptions. So what I want you to focus on now is you can look at those names of the strengths, but I want you to really focus on these 4 domains. So I'm going to describe these to you. And I want you to think about, what is your dominant domain? If you were going to take inventory of yourself as an emerging entrepreneur or an experienced entrepreneur, which one most sounds like you? So let's start with executing. People who are dominant in the executing domain love to get things done, right? They would be an entrepreneur who has a roadmap, who has a checklist. They have assessed their risk management. They can be hyper-focused on getting things done. They get energy by completing tasks. So just think a minute. Is that where you're dominant? Next is this influencing domain. These people also like to get things done, but very different motivator. Influencers like to connect with people to make things happen. These are the change makers. They work quickly. They have got lots of energy. They ask big, broad questions like, how are we going to make this happen? What are we going to get started? As an entrepreneur, if you find yourself kind of restless to like, let's just get this thing off the ground. Let's not worry about all the other pieces. We'll find the right players later. You might be in the influencing domain. So just think about, if you're like one of these people who likes to get things done, or you like to connect with people and get it done together and move quickly? Now, back to the left-hand corner in the red is the strategic domain. These are the people who are the researchers, the analyzers, the thinkers. These people love to have planning meetings, idea meetings. They like to brainstorm as entrepreneurs, right? They get out and think about what's possible in the future and then bring a group of people to have more conversations about what's possible. They love this space of thinking and envisioning. So think about it. Does that sound more like you? This last domain is relationship builders. These are the people who like to connect, right? Their energy and their talent is in bringing people together. As entrepreneurs, they often have an advisory board. They bring people together in conversation. They like to mentor people and onboard people. They like to listen. They'll often ask how people are doing. How are you feeling, right? So these are the entrepreneurs that like to connect. So just think a minute. When you think about your most dominant domain, just kind of think, which one is your most dominant? And maybe also, which one are you less dominant in? So for example, I lean towards strategic, right? But I love to partner with people who are executors because together we make stuff happen, right? So just think a minute. And we're going to launch another poll here where I want you to figure out which is your dominant domain. Now you may split it a little bit, but most people have one that they're really energized by. You can't wait to do it, right? It's the place where you're just like, time flies. Which is your dominant domain? I'll give you an interesting piece of data here. There's frequency analysis on all these domains. And the domain that is least frequent is actually the influencers, right? So we'll just be curious today about how might that show up. I often see strategic balancing with executing, and also strategic and relationships showing up a lot in more of the social service sectors, and particularly nonprofits, if you're thinking about starting a nonprofit. So let's just see how it falls out. How are we doing, Paul?
We are up to 89%.
Awesome.
Come on, the rest of you, 11%. Get in there and seem to be stuck at 89%.
That's okay.
Oh, 90. Do I hear 91? 94. Wow.
It's empowering to think about your strengths this way. It's like, wow, this is the first step of strengths-based entrepreneurship, is to claim your strengths as a tool for helping you launch your business and maintain it.
All right, we are at 98. I can't vote because I'm running the show here, so I think that's probably good. I will end it and put it up on the screen.
Thank you. All right. Looks like we have a big group of strategic thinkers, some relationship builders and executors, and some influencers, right? So as you're sitting there with the poll, Danielle is super curious about what domain are you using in your entrepreneurial initiatives right now? Maybe just jot those in the chat. So when people are in their domain, in their dominant domain, we call this in the third half, being in your strength zone. And we use the flight metaphor a lot in the third half, just because we love the idea that you're getting lift, right? As an entrepreneur, you get some lift when you're in your strength zone. So it's good energy, right? You look forward to doing it. It seems intuitive. Lots of times when I debrief people's strengths results with them, they were like, that's not a strength. It's just so intuitive that they don't even recognize it. Third is this strong performance, consistently high performance. They can count on being near perfect performance when they're using their strengths. Second, time flies, right? Whew, I didn't realize I'd been doing that for 3 hours, and you can't wait to do it again. As entrepreneurs, you can't always be in your strength zone. Perhaps there's some solopreneurs in this group, and you know that you have to do it all. So you can't always be in your strength zone, but the data on entrepreneurs and strengths is the more time you can strategically spend in your strength zone, the better your results will be. So I'd like to now introduce some of our storytellers today. We've invited 4 different entrepreneurs. Sadly, our 5th entrepreneur had a family emergency, and because of her portfolio life, she decided to spend time with her family member, and she stepped down from that, which we honor in the third half. But these 4 are here today, and Lisa sends her best, and she's more than happy to talk about Story Happens Here another day. But today we're going to ask each of these entrepreneurs to tell a short story about how they've been using their strengths to help them either grow, start, or maintain their business. After each one of them, I'm going to kind of point out from their strengths results, which strengths I hear them talking about. So I'm going to start with Peter Nash of Ginger Gems.
Thank you, Polly. My story started at one of the very first Founders Over 55 meetings, but I'll give you a little backstory first. My background's in tech, and I've worked in both startup and large company environments. In the most basic sense, my strengths are all around organizing and building teams to help scale a business. I had left a stable position that I'd been at for about 8 years, and it was precisely because it had become too routine and was, as I would later come to understand, increasingly forcing me to use strengths that were nowhere near the top of my list. At around this time, I started working with Third Half Advisors. Even though I'd been in the corporate world for years and taken all forms of assessments, Third Half Advisors had a unique combination of assessments, guidance, and training for someone in my 55 plus category. At the same time, I came to a networking event at here in early 2019. At the meeting, anyone who wanted to could talk about a need or a question they had. A person by the name of Suzanne, who's actually here on the call today, stood up and described her background and that she had an idea for a food company, food product, but needed someone to help move it forward. As I sat there listening to her with what I was learning from Third Half in my head, I could more clearly read between the lines and hear her describing strengths that I didn't have, but at the same time, asking for the ones that I did have. Fast forward to today, and I am a co-founder with Suzanne and a third founder, Lori, of Ginger Gems. We're all about the same age. Our company manufactures and sells a ginger-based confection through specialty food stores from New Hampshire to the Cape and Islands. Yes, Ginger Gems has nothing whatsoever to do with tech, but everything to do with letting me use my strengths. Additionally, Suzanne and Lori have both since used Clifton to identify their top strengths. There is almost no overlap in our top strengths, but the combination of the 3 of us cover a wide swath. As an example, Suzanne would rather have a root canal than have to spend time on a computer, but loves the challenge of turning a sales call no into a yes. And for me, it's the complete opposite. Just to wrap up, this is not the only place I've used what I've been learning with Third Half. There are 2 volunteer organizations where it's helped me immensely to adjust the level of involvement and the type of involvement that I've had with those organizations. I'd be happy to talk more about that in the breakout rooms. Thank you. Back to you, Polly.
Great. Thanks, Peter. So Peter and I have had multiple conversations, and as you can hear, Peter is really good at executing, and he's very skillful at kind of connecting the dots. Peter has this ability to juggle lots of things at once, while also looking at things through this strength called deliberative, where he can see where the gaps are and think about ways to fill those gaps. So thank you, Peter. Campbell, I'll pass it over to you.
You're on mute.
Thanks, Polly, and thanks to Peter. I'm glad to have the opportunity to speak with all of you. One of my top strengths is empathy. And it's interesting because it says empathy helps you sense what others are feeling. But really, we started the third half, or Caroline and I did, based on my sense of coming to my mid-60s and completing a career with a life insurance brokerage firm that I had started a long time ago. And it was the sense that I wanted to have more white space on my calendar, but then when I did, I didn't quite know what to do with it. And so my goal was to start a business, to be a catalyst, to team up with Caroline to see if we could create a curriculum that would help other people who are in similar situations. One of my strengths is looking into the future, being futuristic, and knowing that with 75 million baby boomers out there, that there were a lot of people who would need this kind of advice along the way. And finally, I would be looking to use my maximizer skill, where what we've tried to do all along is to create a world-class operation and provide a quality learning opportunity for lots of really capable people. And part of that is getting the right people in the right seats, as many of you know. And so Polly is our expert coach. She does our facilitation and coaching, and Caroline really operates the business itself. And I spend most of my time relationship building and trying to grow and expand the business. So that's it for me, Polly.
Thanks, Campbell. So Campbell mentioned he used the names of some of those themes that are those clusters of talents. And you can see that Campbell has some relationship building and some influencing and also some strategic domains. So when I work with Campbell, we are always going to keep thinking about what's possible next and how can we get there and how can we improve what we're doing in Third Half Advisors. So thanks, Campbell. Our next presenter is Lisa Whited. So Lisa, would you like to tell your story?
Sure. Thanks very much, Polly. And I was looking through my strengths and refreshing. It had been a few years since I had done the process. And I will say one of my strengths is self-assurance. And I believe that led me to starting my company at age 23. So I didn't wait until now. I did it then. But what I think has helped me sustain over all these years in my own business is my focus on positivity and connectedness that have allowed me to continue doing what I'm doing. And I have evolved my business as I've evolved. I designed my company to be composed of individual entrepreneurs and then be able to create a team as a project arises to pull the strengths of what we need for talent on that team to do a project. I love seeing what people do best and bringing them together to help us all collectively achieve a great outcome. That makes me feel awesome. And I'm also a very positive person. I'm very interested in the larger impact we have as individuals on society, sort of that a ripple effect, if you will, meaningful relationships and connecting to purpose. Purpose is paramount in everything that I do. And I should have explained what my business is. And thank you, Jacqueline, for asking that. My company is Workplace Transformation Facilitation, which is change management in the workplace. It's also WTF. I say that was my third midlife crisis. I didn't start my company in 1986 with that name, but again, I've evolved and my company's evolved. So it was intentional that it's WTF. But it's all about helping organizations with change in the workplace, especially now with hybrid working. You can imagine a lot of challenges people are having. And one of the things I call it my superpower. I have bilateral dyslexia, which means like I confuse left and right, north and south, east and west. Whenever there are two things, I'm invariably going to get it wrong. I thought, you know, if I had ADHD, it would be like DHDA or something. I don't know. But I say it's my superpower because it allows me to look at things from an opposite perspective, which I love to do, and not to be contrary, but to try to see some other ways of viewing whatever the problem is or the situation. I just think and I am left-handed. Yes, I am left-handed. And then for personal reward over the years, I have engaged in many different volunteer board opportunities. And I, again, love to be working with groups of people to achieve something, to whatever that thing is, whether it's being on a board of a local group that connects the immigrant community in New Mainers to the public education, or national associations, doesn't matter. I just really, as long as I'm connected to the purpose of the organization, I love to be part of that. And the last thing I'll say is being an entrepreneur, being in Portland, Maine, I am in a rural state. I certainly know the ups and downs of trying to make a living. I've got 3 kids, a great husband, and 3 animals. So 2 cats and a dog. And over the years, trying to put peanut butter on the table, it can be a challenge to be self-employed. But a few years ago, I saw our opportunity to connect with a national or a global consultancy based in the UK. There are 60 people worldwide, and that they do change management as well. So a lot of facilitation and that type of work, which I love, workplace strategy. That's been a fantastic way for me to augment my solopreneur activities, and then again, still be part of a larger consultancy and part of a larger group achieving things for good effect. So that's it.
Thanks, Lisa. So if you want to see a snapshot of the strength called strategic, you just heard it. All right. You can see how Lisa is incredibly strategic about who she meets, how she works with people, how she expands her opportunities. I got to be part of the group of people that she gathered when she was first starting WTF. I can't even remember how many there were of us, but it was just this whole strengths-based, totally different group of people. But we had the best time innovating, thinking, envisioning, following Lisa into this kind of discussion about what's possible for WTF. So that's what strategic strength is. So thanks, Lisa. And lastly, but not least, Paul, do you want to share your story?
Yes, I would. And you'll see one of my strengths is going to be displayed here, because I'm going to take everything that you asked us to do and turn it around. So my business is called Get Fit Made Easy. And in late 2012, I was a mess. At that time, I was a work from home parent of 3 teenagers, juggling my work, taking care of my family, and dropping the ball on my wellness. You know, I was struggling. And over the decades of working, I had gained weight. At my annual checkup, my doctor informed me that I was on the cusp of being obese. But I tried dieting. I guess it wasn't working. And I didn't have time to exercise. I would schedule workouts in my calendar, but rarely made it to the Y. Something always came up, or I was just too drained to get off my butt. So I just reschedule it. Did I mention that I lived less than 500 steps from a brand new YMCA? Not much of an excuse there. I didn't need to suffer in this endless loop of being too busy to take care of my health and wellness and suffering the consequences of doing that. Knowing my Clifton strengths and how to use them would help me manage my entrepreneurial journey. I had everything I needed to get started, and my Clifton strengths revealed it. One of my top 5 strengths is ideation. I revel in taking the world as we know it and turning it around so we can view it from a strangely enlightening angle. I quit the why, I quit trying to diet, and I quit sitting so much. And that gave me headspace for ideation. And within the first 6 months, I'd lost 30 pounds and walked 1,000 miles without going to the why and without taking time away from my other responsibility. Now, all I had to do was tell the world what I discovered, but I didn't know how to blog. I didn't know how to make a podcast, build a website, communicate clearly and compellingly in order to market my solution. It's a good thing one of my Clifton strengths is a learner. and that is people who have a great desire to learn and want to continuously improve. I quickly discovered that unfortunately I was not going to be an overnight success, so I needed the fuel to propel my journey while I was producing content, connecting with customers, and building and testing solutions. Fortunately, another one of my strengths is achiever.
Hi there.
Somebody,
wow, you're enthusiastic. Thank you. I'll try to be. What can I get? Can I get a large iced tea, black unsweetened, please?
Oh, whoever's ordering coffee.
I'm going to mute everybody.
Can you throw a couple of...
Okay. We got somebody's order in there. Can everybody hear me still? Yeah, okay. It's a little late in the day for a coffee, but what the hell. Achiever, somebody who has a constant need to achieve, and that's big or small. And I also needed a beacon that I could aim for to keep me on my course. And one of my strengths is futuristic. I believe in a better approach, a better life, and a better world. And I could see the way I was working and how many of us work is slowly making us sick and needlessly shortening the healthy parts of our lives. And what I'm aiming for is what I see as the future of work. Knowing your Clifton strengths and how to utilize them will allow you to move more fully, engage in those strengths on a daily basis and on your entrepreneurial journey. So I just like to quote Richie Norton, the power of starting something stupid, how to crush fear, make dreams happen, and live without regrets. He says, it all starts with a tiny, stupid idea. Then one thing leads to another, and suddenly you find something amazing yourself. And that is what knowing your Clifton strengths will help you do. And that's how it helped me. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. One of the things that Paul mentioned is that he has this strength called learner. And what I love about working with learners is that they are expansively curious. They're just genuinely curious about absolutely everything. So here's this, that was just such a great learner story, bountiful enthusiasm for learning. So my guess is that your number 6 strength is probably positivity, like Lisa's, and great enthusiasm. So thank you all for sharing your story. And Danielle, were there any questions in the sidebar or comments that we should pay attention to before we move on?
I don't see any showing up, but I am thinking that, because we've talked about this a lot, like it seems like as an entrepreneur, especially a solopreneur, you almost have to be good at all of it. So help us understand like how not to be overwhelmed, you know, how our strengths can help us, you know, with those blocking moments, and then, you know, get us into gear, not thinking that we have to do it all, but we can really lean into our own strengths.
Yeah, I think that what I'd like to do is just jump right to the next slide to kind of help with that, because this is a really important part of a strengths-based approach, is recognizing and naming you can't do it all. So finding strategic partners to help you. You listen to everybody's story here. They touched base with somebody along the way, right? Someone they connected with, whether it was a family member or a colleague. But when you go out in the world, when you think about your domain, your dominant one, it's good to know what are the cues to identify other people's domains. So we put this together as a listening tool for how to identify people in another domain. So for example, if executing isn't your dominant domain and you could sure use some executing help, you want to listen for people asking things like, what do we need to get done? What's the timeline? What's the goal? Who's assigned to which task? Very project-oriented, very completion-oriented. All entrepreneurs need them. Some are really good at executing, but having those on your team as an advisor or just a confidant can be helpful. The next is, if you don't think you're very high in relationship building, these are the clues you have to listen to for people who might be in that domain. They always ask, how are you doing? They may notice how people are feeling. They might ask if they have any insights. They want to learn from other people's experiences. They want to know how people are connecting. So listen for those people. when you're building an advisor board or you're not sure who to network with, the relationship building people will say, oh, you need to meet so-and-so because they'll connect you to other people. Third, these influencers, if you don't see yourself as fast moving, kind of go, 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 you know, maybe some competition, some moving from good to great kind of energy, these influencers are really, they're easy to spot. One, because of their energy, right? Because it's like, let's get going on this. These are the people who say, you know, let's, you know, worry about building the plane while we got it up in the air. We'll finish it all out while it's flying, right? It's a great opportunity. Let's jump in. What do we need to do to get this project moving? So if you're stuck and you're like, I don't even know how to get started, listening for people with that kind of energy and that kind of talent can help you get some momentum. And then the last domain is if this research, analysis, thinking, ideating is not your highest domain. Well, you heard some great examples today. I bet they would be interested in maybe talking with you about how to be strategic, how to ideate, how to kind of think about pros and cons, and how to move something forward, how to envision, but also how to think what's from the past. What do they know? They've heard from other entrepreneurs. You heard this example of SCORE. SCORE, you know, mentors people to be coaches so they can have context for supporting future entrepreneurs. So to answer Danielle's question, a strengths-based approach doesn't have to be alone. It's an opportunity to collaborate. And we want to invite you to kind of continue on this journey with us with Third Half as opportunities to connect, to collaborate, to think about what's next for you. We have 3 opportunities that we're hoping and know that will fit your needs. One is our milestone course. This is a condensed version of our virtual program that was 7 sessions long. We're going to put it into 2 3-hour programs. So you get a lot of information in just 2 Zoom sessions. Secondly, if you're interested in finding out more about your strengths, I'm happy to coach and support you. And third, Danielle and I would really love to offer an in-person event in spring 2020. So that's our goal, is to bring you all back together in person and do some more deep work on strength, on the strengths approach. So as I said, a cornerstone of Third Half is not only learning and networking and collaborating, it's also about action steps. So we're going to move now into this action step of today, which is going to be a breakout room. We've got a variety of people who are going to help lead a breakout room. But this chart that you started with can be daunting, can be overwhelming. But if you look at those bright colors along the top, and just think about where your dominant domain is and where your talents lie, that's going to be your clue for these questions that we're going to have in the breakout room. I'm going to bounce in and out of all the breakout rooms and just kind of listen. I'm not going to contribute. Maybe I can answer a couple of questions, but more I'm going to kind of weave together the strengths of the people in the room and try to summarize what's going on. One of my top 5 strengths is connectedness, which means I'm a weaver. I love to see how things are connected. So I'll be doing that in these breakout rooms. So for that, I thank the Founders Over 55 for this tool. And Danielle, I'm going to let you set us up for the breakout rooms.
I need a couple of minutes. So Danielle, I know you can fill it.
Okay. Okay. So maybe Polly, you could take a few questions. The Susan Walker is interested in knowing if creative thinking and problem solving are a specific strength, or is that something that's sprinkled across several strengths?
Good question, right? So creative thinking, the generating of ideas, the brainstorming part, was the strength that Paul talked about, that kind of ideation strength, right? There's also a strength that's very creative called maximizer, because they're always thinking about how to move things from good to great. So creativity sprinkles throughout a variety of themes, but I think it's really important that you ask this question. because like Lisa, Campbell, and I all have Maximizer, but we each have a unique print on it. And part of this journey of a strengths-based approach is figuring out what's your fingerprint. And that's where the fun really begins.
And I know that when you've coached me in the past, my top strength is learner. And so when you say like, when I get into like a roadblock, I can't figure something out or frustrating or so forth, is to actually remind myself of the learner strength, go and read something about it, go do some background research, talk to people, do a learning activity. And what it does is sort of like remind yourself like, you got this, you know, and that you can then apply that to whatever obstacle. So I'd love to hear like other ways that you see people kind of applying their particular strengths to like overcome a rock that they you know need to overturn.
Yeah, well, you know, I'll honor the co-founder of Third Half. Caroline has a strength of a ranger, and what arrangers are really good at is juggling lots of pieces at once while seeing the whole. So when she sees a block, right, she steps back and looks at the whole and analyzes the pieces and then helps get going again. So I think that's one of her superpowers, if you want to use the term superpower.
Right. So this is fantastic. Thank you so much, Polly, for giving us all that great foundation and for all the storytellers as well. So now we'll go into breakout. And what we'd love for you to do, we'll have about 7 or 8 breakouts. So they'll be small enough for you guys to quickly get to know each other. So just real quick, you know, give us a sense of where you are in your journey. Like, what is your next big milestone that you're trying to achieve, or the next phase of the business that you're stepping into, or where your concerns are. Not a real long description, because we do want to make sure that everybody gets a chance. And then think about how you might use your strengths more strategically, either to overcome a challenge or who you might need to find to collaborate with that could complement your strengths. So we'll go into breakouts, say hello to each other, and we'll have a great juicy conversation, and we'll see you back here in about 10 minutes or so. Okay? All right, and thank you, Paul, for making this happen.
Could I just, I got swung around the room. I feel like I've been on a merry-go-round, but I did get to hear some snippets of people. And I just thought it would be helpful to just kind of notice a few things. First of all, instantly, many of you were already networking. I can help you with this. Help me follow up with that. All right. So be sure that, you know, we find a way to kind of help you stay connected. In that way, if you found someone that you want to connect with, make it happen. There was a lot of relationship building going on. You know, we often think of relationship building being slow and steady, will get us there, building the trust and moving along. In the Zoom environment, relationship building happens quickly. The second one is I heard the word goals sprinkled around many, many times. And I think as entrepreneurs, that's one of our greatest challenges, is getting crystal clear about what our goals are, right? Because there's several strengths that if they don't have a goal, they get into what I call a spin cycle. It's like they just keep going around and around and around and around, and they never get to the target. So be sure that when you're naming your goal, you keep winnowing it down until your strengths can say, that's what I'm working on. And that will allow you to unleash all that talent and potential.
I'm sorry, that's so essential, Polly. Before we move on, could you maybe back that up with like some examples so we can see that how that plays out? Because I think goal setting is, you know, it could be very ambiguous, and then it gets more defined and more defined. So help us.
I often, when I'm working with entrepreneurs and they're setting a goal, it's big, it's elusive, it's powerful. It's what attracted them to start their business. But they need to take time to chunk it down into a manageable size, because what you want, particularly for all these new entrepreneurs in the room, is you want to get some wins under your sails, right? You want to see that you're actually making progress. Otherwise, we get discouraged and we might disappear. We don't want you to disappear. The world needs you. So taking that big goal and looking at the different pathways to get there, looking at the pros and cons, but then narrowing it down even smaller. And some of the times, and marketing domain person can be excellent at narrowing the focus. So asking someone, is my goal too big? Yep. And then have them help you to massage it down to a chunk. The other thing that I heard a lot was learning. I need to learn. I need to learn more. I need to take classes. I need to kind of navigate, you know, and lots of learners in this room. So I think it's important for you to kind of recognize that there's two things. One is knowing what to research and knowing when you have enough. Particularly for all you women in the room. Women are notorious in entrepreneurship to just saying, well, I won't start quite yet because I think I need another class, like how to design a website, or I think I need to go and take a class on, you know, QuickBooks, right? At some point, you have to launch, right? So get your strengths clear and aligned, and don't let one of them kind of take over or hijack you, right? So that you can start moving forward and not get stuck in this perpetual learning and never launch your business. The second thing, as I mentioned in the beginning, there's a host of data in this room. Insights, experiences, talents. Finding ways to share those data points with each could move someone from block to unlock to launching. So kind of reach out to the people who you've had a conversation with today. And the last one was, if for those of you who are new, storytelling is critical, right? You heard some great storytellers today from our guest speakers. But storytelling makes the difference. Do you have a compelling story? We often talk about in entrepreneurship of having a pitch, right? What's your pitch, right? I would take it beyond pitch. I would tell a story that's captivating. Tell a story that's meaningful. That's how people will get interested in your business. That's how they can kind of gather together. Campbell is taking classes on storytelling. He's a big believer in storytelling. And Lisa Gates, who was going to be here today, check out her website, Story Happens Here. She helps people figure out how to tell their story so that it can be compelling. And I think that's a really important piece. The last thing, I heard several people say, I don't like networking events, right? And that's pretty common, right? I used to sit down and muscle up as much as I could to go to a networking event, right? I'm this superpower introvert, and to go to networking events used to make me almost nauseous. So I got two things. One, I said to myself, all you have to do is meet 3 people, Polly, and then you can go home, right? So that was what I would do. I would just go meet 3 people and then I'd go home, and that was good enough for me. The second thing is I realized that I liked deeper conversations, longer conversations. And so I switched from networking to coffees, one-on-one, inviting people to coffees. My strength is connecting with people and having deeper conversations. And that worked for me to help me build my business. I used my number one strength, which is relator, which is having more meaningful, authentic conversations with people. So I hope that gives you some example of some of the themes I heard. Wonderful strengths coming up in these conversations, just giving you some language to move through and with that. Right. Danielle, I'll pass it back to you.
Oh, this is wonderful. So first of all, thank you so much, Polly.
Yes.
And so we'd love to now, for the rest of the time together, please, what came up for you? What was some new ahas that you heard today? And put them in the chat. And here's a great opportunity to ask questions of Polly, but also of the community. So by all means, put some questions in or raise your hand. You can use the hand raise feature in reactions on the bottom of your screen there. And I could also see that people are putting contact information. So, we're all here for each other. And one of the charming parts of Peter Nash's story about Ginger Gems is that I think initially, Peter, you were thinking about like soulpreneur, like becoming maybe a contractor focused on helping lots of companies, with their team building, right? That was your superpower, and you were going to build a company where you did that. And then lo and behold, you meet Suzanne and Lori. Now you're a co-founder of a company. You probably never thought that was really what where your life path would take you. So we're excited for everybody on this call to have that serendipity, if you will. So please, I know you did share in the breakout. So does anybody have any questions or something that they'd like a little more insight on? Ramesh, go ahead.
Thank you. I just want to share something with everybody here. As I said, I'm part of the Boston chapter for SCORE. And if you just went on the SCORE Boston chapter, one of the things that you can see right away is you'll see the pictures and the names and the backgrounds of all the 80 mentors. So, I'm just one of the mentors. There are many, many, and you can make your connections, and I'd be happy to also facilitate that you might find somebody who relates more to what you're trying to do and also help, expand your strengths and connections.
Thank you. Thank you. And that's a wonderful resource. And so we're so excited to have Ramesh on the steering committee as well. So thank you, Ramesh. I'm looking here at this, at the very active chat, and Phil Dahl, never had a chance to participate in the breakout room. We ran out of time. So apologies, Phil. Would you like to give us a little sense of your strengths here in the larger group? And we can just all help you.
That's a lot more scary this way.
Entrepreneurship is about showing up, my friend.
No, thank you very much for this opportunity. So I'm a strategic relationship builder, and my business partner is an executing influencer. So where we're at right now, we have a startup hospitality business in a very specific location, and we're stuck in the implementation phase. So the planning has been done, we have connections, but at this point, we cannot find a facility or location. We've been looking since September of last year.
Oh, wow.
We both kind of ran out of steam, and we're exhausted.
So one more time, you're looking for?
Real estate.
Oh, a physical real estate. We're looking for a location,
either to buy or to rent, and it's just not available in the size.
Where are you looking, and what type of space are you looking for?
So we're looking on the Cape, particularly the Lower Cape. And so we're looking around the Harwich area, Harwich, Dennis, Brewster, and Chatham. And we are looking for a smaller property, 1,000 square feet or less, has to have a commercial kitchen space, and either to rent or to buy, depending on the price. But we just out of luck at all fronts. Everything we find are large, major restaurant spaces, which will not work for us. So we're looking at basically like a drive-through size space. Seating is not important at all.
And what is the company that you're building?
It's a restaurant.
Oh, a restaurant. Oh, okay.
It's a hospital. Well, it's a new concept on a restaurant, particularly on the Cape.
Awesome. Thank you. Anybody? Well, thank you. So if anybody has ideas for Phil, Phil, do you want to put your contact information in the chat so people can reach out to you?
Sure, I already did.
Oh, you did. Perfect. Okay, good. All right. And for those of you who are putting your LinkedIn profiles, I love that. I put mine in. So as I mentioned, I'm co-founder of an agency. We're an ecosystem for startups and large corporates who are working on solutions for the aging journey. I'm also a coach for public speakers. So if anybody's out there and they need to tell their story out loud, they want to refine their pitch, refine their talk, I'm happy to help. But what I'm really excited for people to put their LinkedIn in there is because now you could start to see other people that you're connected to. And it's a great way, as Polly mentioned, to find areas of overlap so you can start a conversation. So is anybody here also looking for a co-founder? Now that you've had this, a sense of or not so much co-founder, but at least a partner or somebody to help them with something that they're working on. Who has a defined need for someone that has a complementary set of strengths? And I want to do a shout out to the community. Anybody? Okay.
That Joanne put a note in the chat about that. Maybe she wants to speak up. She's still here.
Sure. Oh, there you are. Oh, sure. Oh, sorry, Joanne. Sorry, it went right past me.
No, I actually would love to work on a new venture with someone as a co-founder, partner. I don't have an idea in mind at the moment. I had a previous company in my first half, and now would like to do it again. So,
is it related, your first half, to what you're thinking about next?
Well, my background is in technology, software, systems. So that's where my technical strengths are. But I'm definitely a doer. And so, you know, I did run a company that I grew to 25 people. So, and that's my, you know, where my strengths are, but love to do it with somebody. I don't want to do it alone.
Those are good credentials. So I would think people would be interested.
So Polly, maybe you could speak to that. A lot of folks on the call, you know, spent a lot of time in their first careers, as they say. I know you guys call it the warrior career. How do you help us think about like the strengths in that context? Maybe as a big corporate, you know, everybody had very defined roles in corporate usually. How do you take those strengths and then parlay them into a solopreneur or entrepreneur context?
It's a great question. And I'm going to suggest you all sit down and do this activity. It's got two parts to it. The first thing I want you to do is think about when you were working in that career, what was it that energized you most of all? And jot down, when you had a great day at work, what were you doing? Who were you with? What was the activities, right? That's your strength zone. Mm. Then I want you to list those drainers, right? What are those things that you spent oodles of time doing that just wiped you out? That you're like, oh no, I just don't want to do that anymore, right? And get a list of energizers and drainers. The way to build a strengths-based approach is to then take that energizer list and say, how can I spend more time doing those things and less time doing these other drainer things, right? When I was chair of an academic department for a while, and I saw myself dwindling in that role. And I did this activity of energizers and drainers. Once I saw all my energizers, I realized what I loved most of all was coaching and mentoring and curriculum design. So I spun off and started my own business. And then like Lisa, I've collaborated with other people. So it is this place of knowing what energizes me most of all to design my building and to seek out collaboration opportunities. I hope that answers your question.
That is beautiful. And I put that in the chat, energizers and drainers. I think that's so important to be honest with ourselves. And I know like new entrants into the workforce, you go through a lot of like, you know, personal development, right? And you're always like, what are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? Let's work on your weaknesses. So I think at a certain point, like, I just kind of really want to work on my weaknesses. I just want to like, let's lean into the strengths and let's like partner with people to complement those strengths. Very much like the Suzanne Peter journey there. So I think that's brilliant to like put it out there, be honest, no shame. These are my drainers, no shame. These are my energizers. Let's lean in.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So Rosemary would love to partner with somebody. So Rosemary, tell us about your strengths, your passions, and what are you looking for in a collaboration?
Hello, thank you. So my strength is strategic thinking, future and ideation. I'm looking to partner with someone who's, I guess you call it driver, influencer as well. I actually have Ramesh as one of my business mentors at SCO, and he's been wonderful. But I'm looking to partner with someone who will help me with the next steps, taking them forward, because I am good with the planning, thinking through, but it's the follow through that I need. And I'm just hoping that this is a good forum to find people who might be willing to partner with me on that.
So tell us a little bit more about the space and the business that you're building or the problem that you're trying to solve in the world.
So I'm a physician in my background. I recently was on medical leave and found out that I can only do 2 weeks of watching Netflix before I go crazy. And so I had to look for something to do and occupy my time. So I decided to create a medical web app. And for me, the creation of the app was wonderful. It was fun. It was a nice time to reevaluate what I'm good at. But the next step, which is what Ramesh is helping me with, creating it and setting it up as a business, for me, it's challenging enough, learning things that I'm new at, like creating a business plan, which has been wonderful. But those sequences or steps to follow through to actually get it operational are some of the things I'm finding out that as a physician, I've never thought about them. So they are brand new. And I think my confidence level sometimes takes a little bit of a beating because I need to know that this is the right path. And I'll be honest, Ramesh is great. But I'm also looking for, I'm stepping out of my comfort zone to do more networking and reaching out to those who I might be able to, work with on this.
Rosemary, can I just jump in there? Because I think what you're telling a story that is so common in entrepreneurs is that I don't know how to do this, right? And it's like, how do I take the next step? And the good way to look about this and to think about this is to look towards your past, a similar scenario, right? Where you overcame something by having confidence, or you found the right people. Think about when did you have success, and then think, okay, how did I do that? And how can I do that again? And that's what we call a strengths-based approach, is building from where you had success in your past, where you might not directly see the pieces, but there's pieces of it that are going to help you, and then trying to see how you can leverage that to move you forward. I hope that gives you a little bit of an idea.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
I think that is, I'm just going to say, Larry here, membership platforms are very popular now because you have usually a coach as a host, and then all of the members, if they're like-minded, are there to add their experience, their thoughts, their brainstorming ideas to you as well. So I could see you in a group like that, look for organizations. I'm not really clear, frankly, about how the third half works. It's kind of new to me. So if that could be explained further, maybe that's a step for her here. But there are good membership programs out there where if you could find your tribe where you could have these kind of conversations, that would really be helpful.
Well, and that's why we're so excited that Founders Over 55 keeps growing and growing, because we're building a tribe of people who are kind of stepping into this world, and hopefully like we're helping each other. And what we'd really love to do at Founders Over 55 is learn from you guys what you want help with. So as you can see, we love getting together on a monthly basis. We'll get together more frequently too, if there's people want to, and we could do different things. We can get together for an event where we're learning something new together. We bring in experts, thought leaders, authors, right, to teach us some skills. We can also kind of toggle that with more of these sort of community discussions. Okay, who needs something right now? Who's out there in the community who wants to, connect, right? So more connecting type events. So so the more we learn about what you need, and by the way, we'd love for you to be part of the Founders Over 55 community for throughout your entire journey. So you may start with us just dabbling, learning, not sure what you want to do. Then you actually build a company, and then throughout the course of your journey, we can continue to provide some, content and connections that will be helpful. So, so I encourage you all to reach out to the steering committee and let us know what you need, and we can organize, events around that.
Danielle, do you want me to post the names of the steering
committee? That'd be great. Yeah, if you could put that slide back up, Polly. And we are at time, so let's thank you. Yes. So thank you. So let's take a moment of gratitude. Thank you to the organizations who are here today, represented today, who worked hard behind the scenes for weeks and months preparing for today. So we operate out of the Cambridge Innovation Center. Anybody who's looking for co-working space, it's amazing. They were the leaders throughout the whole pandemic, doing COVID testing and vaccination services, and role model for the way to operate an office space. Of course, Encore Boston with Doug, thank you, and SCORE with Ramesh, and Venture Cafe, who gave us our start, Third Half Advisors. You guys are amazing. Thank you to Campbell and Caroline and Polly, and for each and every one of you. So you can reach out to the steering committee. Our IDs are on the left. And then, of course, to the storytellers who took time out of their busy lives to share with us today. So before we dash, any final words, thoughts? Campbell, Caroline, Polly, steering committee?
I just have been honored to be a part of the group and to just hear your ideas, hear your innovation. And I guess I give you the 2 words of being an entrepreneur that's helped me is be curious and be courageous. And the rest will happen.
I love it. That is worth putting into the chat. Be curious and be courageous. All right. I can't spell courageous fast enough. All right. So I think I did it. All right. Well, this was amazing. The video will be posted on foundersover55.com. Tell your friends. We're just growing. We welcome everybody, whatever stage you're at. Let us know how we could be most helpful to you. And thank you again to all of our speakers today and to each and every one of you for joining us. So this will be the official end. And we are happy to stay on for anybody who wants to chit chat.